Hi, my name's Peter and welcome to the fourth in the series of small informal videos and discussions about action research. In this one we really want to focus on action research as being site-based. If you've seen the earlier ones, you'll know that this is the fourth in the series of about 12, which may or may not be extended later on, but at the moment this is what we have planned. So from the previous video, we talked about action research and the idea that we need to actively pursue the re-emphasis on educational research. And this is research that places the interests of students, teachers and societies at the centre of the process or the project. In other words, we need to start with schools and sites of education, classrooms where children and teachers are learning, not just at the upper level where we develop curriculums or resources or ideas and tell people what to do. Even if that happens, these things have to be undertaken in classrooms. And so that's the most important part of education, classrooms, where teachers and students meet. And this is not just a general idea, it's a real idea if we want to change and make a difference in education. It's very difficult to change education across the whole of the state or the country or the system, but you can make a difference right in that very classroom where you work or in the school site. And this is the idea that there's no best practice. This is a quote from chemists McTaggart and Nixon, and I really like what it captures. It says, "In action research, we do not aim to produce generalizations about the one best way to do things. In fact, we don't want to find the best way to do things anywhere except here, where we are in our situation." And this is really what action research is about, finding out the best way that teaching and learning can be undertaken in the school site where you are. Now, in these pictures here, you'll see I've shown photos of two different schools. These are both Australian schools, they're both independent schools actually, both schools I've visited. Do you think that in each of these school sites, they need the same sort of educational practice? Do you think the needs of the communities are the same, the teachers are the same, the context in which they work are the same? And clearly here I'm implying that they're not. Similarly, if you look at these two different groups of students, these are Australian school students, well they were at the time when I took the photo, and you can see that they may have quite different needs. One group of kids are in an urban setting, one are in a remote and regional setting. So trying to think of a way of doing education, one way of doing education that meets the needs of all students in all sites, in all different sorts of schools, we're arguing is a nonsense. That you need to understand how it's realised and undertaken and developed in each school site because they're so different. The conditions and arrangements that shape the learning practices and the teaching practices are different and require different sorts of teaching and learning, and that's why action research is important because it's a way of meeting those needs. So these are some fundamental questions. Do all students need the same educational experience? And you can tell from the tone of what we've said that we're saying that no, they don't. And do all school sites need the same educational development? And again, we think there's a resounding no to that question. But all school students do need good educational experiences and all school sites do need good educational development. It's just it's going to look different in each different site. So action research is important because what it does is it focuses on the actual doing of education in actual sites. And I think I've said this in almost every video. We're concerned with what's actually happening in the school and in the classroom. Not what we think is happening, what might be happening, but what actually is happening. And the purpose of action research is trying to understand that so we can develop it. At the same time as understanding what the action is going on or the practices that are being undertaken, we need to also understand the conditions and arrangements that shape those actual practices in actual sites. Not what we think might be shaping it, what could be shaping it, but what are the actual things that are shaping it. And that's why we collect evidence to try and work out what these things are and develop them. Now, as will be clear, in this sort of development work in schools, we think that the classroom is the key site. Schools only exist, education departments only exist in governments, bureaucrats and managers at systemic levels, at state levels, and even in school principals and those sorts of things. People like me who work in universities, we only have jobs and have work that has meaning because today in different schools all around this country, teachers and students are meeting in classrooms. That's the point. If that part didn't happen, if there was no students and teachers meeting in classrooms today, then the rest of it's irrelevant. You don't need a Department of Education, you don't need a Director of Schooling, you don't need curriculums if there are no students and teachers meeting in classrooms. So as we've said throughout these videos, what we think is important is to start at the classroom. That's the most important site. And if we're going to develop and improve education, where do we have to develop it? In classrooms. So that's what we've tried to point out today, the importance of the site. The action research is site-based because education is site-based. It happens in real classrooms all around the country. And we're also arguing that there's no solution that fits all of them. So that's why we've got to do action research to try and understand what's happening in each place and how we can develop it there. So again, as I have with all the videos, if you need some contact details for Griffith University and the Professional Learning Hub, they're there. Or if you want to get hold of me, that's my contact details there. In the next video, we're going to look at communicative spaces. Thanks for watching.